Sup gamers, this setup is a little bit different today, bear with me. I'm here with my trusty old PC. I've had this thing for about 2 years and I wanted to talk about my experience owning this thing for that time. Normally when I hear people talking about gaming PCs and PC gaming, they're either someone who just built their first PC and documented that process, or it's a person who's had years and years of experience building and PC gaming that is giving advice to newcomers. So I thought it'd be interesting as someone who's built a PC for the first time and has maintained and upgraded it over the past couple years. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about all the trials and tribulations I've been through as someone who's a bit new and has overcome that. I'll talk about all the hardware stuff here, and then I'll talk about the software stuff later, so I'm not on the floor for the entire fucking video. So here's my PC. It's got a Ryzen 7 5800X, 32GB of 3200 MHz DDR4 RAM, and a 9060 XT 16GB. This thing pretty much plays everything I throw at it at 1440p. It's also really good for video editing. I'm very happy with this thing. It didn't used to always be like this. If I have a picture of it, I'll put it right here, but it used to have an RX 6600, a Ryzen 5 4500, and 16GB of RAM with much worse cooling. I used to be a console gamer. Why did I even switch to PC in the first place? So back in 2023, I was still a console gamer. The most recent console I owned was the PS4. The Switch doesn't count. You can actually see right there. It's under the PS3. You can see it poking out a little bit. I've always had the mentality that computers were for work and consoles were for play. That's why I try to avoid PC gaming. I always thought that I would get distracted from my schoolwork. The problem is that I couldn't afford to have those two things be separate at that time because the PS5 was still being scalped very hard. So I thought it would be more economical for my play device and my work device to be the same. So after I graduated college, I decided to use all the money from my first job to build a gaming PC. The total money I got for my first job was around 800 Canadian, which is about 600 USD. That's because it was a tutoring job and I was only paid per session, and I didn't get that many sessions. So that's why I only made 800 Canadian in 3 months. And working at that job was a whole other can of worms. And I was really dumb. I did barely any research. I basically just went on the Newegg PC builder thing and I just started picking parts that would match together. I barely sought any advice from people. I showed my one friend the PC parts list that I made and he told me that there was a really big bottleneck between the CPU and GPU. So I'm really glad he told me that because the combination I got turned out to be really good. So like I said, at the time I got an RX 6600, which is still one of the better GPUs at 200 USD. It actually came with a Starfield code, but I still haven't played that game. I also got a Ryzen 5 4500, and that's one of the best cheap new CPUs. I think it was like 100 Canadian, so about 70 USD, and it was really good. Since it's on the AM4 platform, there's a lot of room to upgrade, and I eventually did that. I could have went with a much better Ryzen 5 3600, but I wanted the reliability of a new part, so I saw the Ryzen 5 4500 on the Newegg PC part picker, so I just went with that instead because it's new, so it would be more likely to work. Oh yeah, by the way, when I bought this 16GB of DDR4 RAM, it was like $40 Canadian. That price is basically impossible to find now. It wasn't all perfect though. I did make some mistakes when selecting the parts. As you can see, I currently have the Seasonic Focus in here. It's gold rated. It's pretty reliable. I think it has like a 10-year warranty. I bought the Seasonic because the original PSU I bought was this as a 550 watt bronze, and when I looked up the power supply, it turns out it was like E rated on the PSU tier list. On newer lists, it's like C minus rated, but I kind of panicked, so instead of using this $50 thing, I bought the $130 Seasonic because I didn't want my shit blowing up. The case, which is also from ASA, is pretty bad too. It came with this RGB fan, which did not work when I plugged it in the first time. There's definitely plenty of hours of troubleshooting this fucking thing. This was the only fan that came with it, so right at the start I had no fans. And it doesn't help that this case has very little airflow. Like, if you could see here, the slits for the airflow are so tiny. So when I first had this in September of 2023, it would get so fucking hot. So the airflow was really bad, and combine that with not much airflow from the case, and the PC got pretty fucking hot in the summer. It was so hot I had to take off the front panel to help it at least a little bit. I did eventually get more fans. I only bought a 3-pack of these Thermalright fans because I was so fucking dirt poor at the time. And one of them broke, so I still had the problem of lack of airflow in my case. When I did actually fill out these fans, the temperatures were much better. When I had very few fans of this thing, the PC was so hot to the touch. It was actually really concerning. But despite the fact the front of the case had so little airflow, putting the proper amount of fans really helped with the temperatures. Even in summer, this thing is still really cool to the touch. So yeah, I should have been smarter and got a case that actually had pre-installed fans that were more likely to work instead of spending the $15 extra on these fans, because the airflow nightmare could have been avoided so easily. The process of building the PC actually went very smoothly. I did the thing everyone does where they set up the motherboard on the box. I touched that metal vent so many times to ensure that I didn't put any static shock, even though it's very unlikely a static shock would actually break anything on this computer. The only thing that went poorly is that I plugged in the HDMI into the motherboard instead of the graphics card. It's really good that was the only bad thing that happened, because I could have lost a lot of money if I broke something. When I did upgrade, which was when I got my current job, I upgraded slowly. I got a really great deal on my CPU, which is a Ryzen 7 5800 XT, which is just a refresh of the Ryzen 7 5800X. And I got that for 170 Canadian, which is about 120 USD. Currently, they go for like 200 USD. The 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM was about $100 Canadian, or about 70 USD. Yeah, we're not getting those prices anymore. I actually bought this cooler, which is a Deep Cool AK400 at Canada Computers. Apparently you can't get Deep Cool products in the US. I'm not sure why. You can get them in Canada, apparently. This cooler was definitely necessary for the more power-hungry 5800 XT compared to the Ryzen 5 4500. I mean, yeah, I could have got a cheaper cooler on Amazon or some shit, but the trip was more of an excuse to ask about the RX 9060 XT 16GB. I made sure to see that they had the inventory on hand, because this model of the 9060 XT, the power color model, was the only one I saw exactly at MSRP. I think it was like 500 Canadian or about 350 USD, because at the time the GPUs were a little bit over MSRP, so I was really excited when I saw this one right at MSRP. I should have gotten a different model of this GPU, because this one gets to like 70 degrees under full load, which isn't that bad, but I could have gotten a model that filled up the space a little bit better in my case and would have had better cooling, but I was just so excited about the cheap price that I didn't really think about it. When I upgraded, putting in all the parts was really easy because I had built a PC before. Upgrading the CPU was a bit scary because bending the pins is really easy. I didn't know how the mechanisms for the CPU cooler would work, but I ended up putting enough thermal paste and putting enough pressure that this thing doesn't get hot at all. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're wondering why I'm using this stupid ass fucking setup, it's because I like to record audio and video separately, and it's much easier to do it on a computer. So I'm recording this right now on the computer. That's why it's on, and I'm pointing a webcam at it. That's it for all the hardware stuff. I'm gonna go talk about the software stuff at my desk instead of sitting on the fucking floor. Once I had my PC set up and I started playing the games, I noticed how different the games I played before were compared to how they are now on this PC. One of the most insane examples was Risk of Rain 2. I used to play this game at 240p 30 FPS on lowest settings on my laptop, and I honestly thought it was a tolerable experience. It was just mind-blowing to me at the time to see such a difference between how I was playing the game before and now. Let me just demonstrate how it was on my laptop. So yeah, this is this is how I was playing on my laptop. Of course, the graphics settings were all the way down, but you wouldn't notice at 240p. And I was playing it on a smaller screen too, so it doesn't even look that bad. Like, I'm on a 1440p monitor now. Like, going from that to this was just like mind-blowing to me, especially since I had a PS4 and not everything ran at a smooth 60 FPS. Warframe was another game that I didn't realize how much I was missing out on. I'm at 500 days. I mean, I don't really play this game that much anymore, so it's honestly not that bad. When I was playing this game on PS4, it was super stuttery. There were definitely points in the game where it was like sub 20 FPS. It was so bad. When I was playing with my friends while I was on PS4, I couldn't even get into public lobbies because the PS4's hard drive was so fucking slow that the game would time me out because it would take so fucking long for me to load into the game that it would just kick me. And it especially sucked because all my friends were into Warframe at the time, so I couldn't play with them. And once I got the PC, yeah, it was a good time playing Warframe, yeah. I finally became a competent player at this game. Not because of the PC, but because I could actually, you know, play with people instead of being left out and learn things. Another thing about the PC that I really appreciated after using laptops basically my whole life is how much I/O there is. Most motherboards have like fucking 6 to 8 USB ports on them, and it's so convenient because when I was playing Osu, I had to use a keypad and a tablet. When I was using my laptop, I had to constantly be like unplugging and replugging fucking USB ports, and it was super inconvenient. But with this PC and so many USB ports, I didn't have to worry about that. You know, I could have my mic plugged in, I could have whatever plugged in, and it would be fine. It kind of sucks now that I've had this thing for a while. The front IO USB ports are kind of worn down. 2 of them basically don't work, so it's a little bit inconvenient now. The reason why I was unplugging and replugging stuff a lot is because sometimes I'd have my controller in. I had to do a bunch of stuff with SD cards when I started modding my Wii and my PS3. Since I spent a good portion of my money on the PC and I didn't have a job yet, I really took advantage of games that were like $5 or less. I played Fallout 4. I have like 40 hours on Fallout 4. Sunset Overdrive, that's a really great game. I play a lot of multiplayer in Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Those really kept me occupied when I didn't have the money to afford full price games. I've been kind of a stickler for deals my entire life. When I was in college, I thought the $8 spicy chicken sandwich combo was really good, so I ate at Wendy's a lot because I got coupons in the mail. The sales are so much better. I swear on PlayStation, I've never seen a deal past 50% off, but on Steam, there's so many deals that are over 90%, and it makes it so much more affordable, especially considering you don't have to pay an online subscription. It's especially better than Switch. I don't think I've ever seen a Switch sale, though obviously I haven't been looking hard enough on Switch. Does stuff even go on sale for more than 50% on Switch? I highly doubt it. Nintendo is such a stickler with their prices, man. Yeah, just the sales experience is completely different on Steam than it is on other platforms. Also, the free Epic games that I haven't played because most of them are pretty bad, but yeah, there's so many free games out there. There's also piracy. I got Spider-Man Miles Morales on a piracy site and I 100%ed it. Thank God I didn't spend full price on that and I just got it for free. That game's just like an expansion of the first game. It's not really worth the full price, and it especially wasn't going on sale at the time. I also pirated some Call of Duty games to play those mods like Plutonium and HMW, and those were really fun. Yeah, Call of Duty is also kind of a stickler when it comes to sales. Why is every Call of Duty still at full price even after a decade? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm not paying those prices for Call of Duty, which is why I pirated them. And yeah, those mods are super fun, even though they're kind of dead now. I think HMW got an update recently, so I should check that out. But I also don't want to hog up hundreds of gigabytes on my 1 terabyte drive. I suggested piracy to some of my friends, but their internet service providers gave them sternly worded emails. I never got any of those, so I don't know what I did to not get that. I don't use a VPN or anything. I'm totally cool with talking about game game piracy here because I pirate anime all the time. I talk about it all the time on my YouTube channel. Same applies to video games. It shouldn't be really that taboo to pirate video games. Speaking of being poor, a really underrated thing is to buy a used office monitor, one of those ones that are in a 4:3 aspect ratio. You can find those pretty easily at thrift stores, and the one I got was like $30 Canadian. It worked just fine. I need an adapter though, so it would actually work on my GPU. So that costed me like $13, something like that. Basically, I got a second monitor at like a third of the price of a new monitor, especially since most people who are interested in getting a second monitor just use it for like Discord and watching YouTube videos. If you're just gonna be glancing at it occasionally, you're not gonna need a high quality monitor, so you may as well just get the cheaper option and save yourself some money, especially if you can't afford a new second monitor. I'm sure a lot of people in poorer countries, that's what they do. I know Brazil's really big into recycling stuff. With that monitor, it was honestly sufficient enough for stuff like video editing as well. Even my old system with the R5 4500 and the RX 6600, it was still so good for video editing, especially compared to my laptop. Like actually being able to scrub through videos and not have it lag at all was such a big deal for me. On my old laptops, I had to basically guess a lot of the time to see if stuff actually synced up, and it made video editing so much slower than it needed to be. Also stuff like Handbrake. The best way to get raw video without subtitles was to get a torrent that had MKV files, and you would run it through Handbrake to remove subtitles and convert it to file format like MP4 that would be usable in Sony Vegas. The problem with that is that when I converted stuff on my old laptop, it would take like 90 minutes for a 20-minute episode to convert from an MKV to an MP4. And it made it so that I just didn't want to make videos on full anime series. That's why I usually picked OVAs or short films, because I didn't have to wait so long to actually get raw footage I could use. But now for another video I'm working on, I converted a 90-minute film in like 6 minutes. It was insane, and I did it like 3 times because I wanted a dub version, I wanted a raw version, and I wanted a sub version. So it just makes it so convenient not having to wait or trying to find another method like trying to find raw files or dub files. And that's getting more rare as these websites get copyright striked more and more. So I'm really glad I could actually use the torrents now that I don't have to scour the internet for raw MP4 files or whatever, just so I could have footage for my YouTube videos. Yeah, just having the system in general is such a luxury to have. It just makes me so happy that I have so much freedom with this device to do basically whatever I want with it. It's not like I didn't have any issues with it. I did have a few software issues. Fortnite had this really dumb thing where it would just crash on boot, so I had to delete a folder, and every time the game updated, I had to delete that folder over and over again. I don't know why it happened, but it just stopped after a few updates. Also, I realized the limits of AMD. Things like the Yuzu emulator just didn't work that well because it's more optimized for NVIDIA's CUDA cores than it is for AMD's ROCm stuff, especially on Windows. At least at the time with the old system with the RX 6600, I really wanted to play Tears of the Kingdom because I really love Breath of the Wild. It's one of my favorite games ever. But the problem is I'm not spending $100 on the sequel. Like, I don't think any game is worth $100. To be fair, I didn't know about the Vulkan API because I'm really dumb. So maybe it would have ran better on the RX 6600, but now on the 9060 XT, it definitely runs way better. That was one problem that's probably my fault. There was this other issue I had that I'm not sure was my fault, and it was that there were a bunch of games that would just stutter really hard every couple seconds. It was super obnoxious. So I avoided the problem for a little bit by just not playing those games. Like Call of Duty, I think, had that problem. There might have been other games, but that's like the major one, which was simple. Is like I only play Call of Duty when it's free to play weekends. But I couldn't avoid the problem because the new Skate game came out, and I really wanted to play that game because I waited fucking decade for that game, I was gonna play it no matter what. And I was still having this issue where it would seriously stutter really hard. So I had to fix it because I really wanted to play this game. So dude, I spend so much time on Reddit, on Google, just trying to find a fucking fix for this problem. And it took me weeks and weeks to figure it out. It turns out I had to set my CPU to less than 100% max usage, and it fixed the entire issue. So yeah, with PC gaming, you're gonna have to troubleshoot shit, especially considering that no two systems are the same. So it can be incredibly annoying having to do that. And the real salt in the wound is that it was all for a game that's really boring. I think a new season for that game came out. Maybe I'll check that out. The game is pretty small anyway. I really did all of that just for a crappy EA game. Kind of goes to show how useful Reddit is for answering questions, because I've had to troubleshoot a lot of stuff, not just that. 99% of the time, my answer comes from Reddit. Reddit's not very good for opinion-based stuff, but for troubleshooting stuff, it's amazing, because there's always some turbo nerd who's experienced the same thing, who knows a lot more about the thing you're asking about. But the problem is that some of these turbo nerds are incredibly elitist assholes. I've definitely seen multiple times when someone's just asking for help, some asshole comes in and is like, why would you want that? That's fucking stupid. You're not even helping the guy, you're just shitting on his decisions. I don't know why these people have to stroke themselves off in a completely unrelated forum when someone is just trying to ask for help. It's just insanely dumb, but also you can't really expect much more from Reddit. Yeah, another thing, Adrenaline software is useful. Yeah, this was really useful back when I first had my PC. It's really easy to record with the hotkeys. This overlay was really helpful when determining that my PC ran really hot at the start. There's also overclocking settings in this, which is kind of crazy. It's baked into software that's used for a bunch of other things, which is really convenient. When I finally decided to upgrade my PC, it wasn't because I was dissatisfied with my system. I was perfectly fine with how my PC ran at the time. It was more so to spread the joy of PC gaming. When I upgraded my CPU, my GPU, my RAM, I did it so I could give it to my brother because he's been playing PC games longer than I have, though he's on a laptop with integrated graphics, so he's limited to like pre-2010 games with a couple of exceptions. He played Warframe a little bit. I really wanted him to experience what I felt going from a laptop to an actual full-blown PC with a GPU and all that shit. So I gave him all the parts I upgraded, but he still hasn't built a PC yet. I was also really pushy with my one friend. He's an online friend, but I found out he lives an hour away from me, so I really wanted to buy the parts for him for a PC because he has a pretty old system. It's like a decade old. Well, it was kind of an excuse to go visit him, but also I wanted to show him how cool it is to build a PC and to have an actually powerful PC, or at least something that's more powerful than what he had at the time. And I've been really pushy about getting people into PC gaming because now that I've had time to have a PC, play games on it, use it for other shit, I understand the PC master race completely. It's really nice to have such a responsive and snappy device, and it's also really nice having the freedom of cheap entertainment. Even if you don't pirate, there's plenty of games that are dirt cheap on PC, but you also have the option to pirate if you really want. I love the customization of actually planning out your build and what you want in it. It weirdly makes me understand car people because both cars and computers are very important. Cars have the very important job of getting you from point A to point B. Almost every job requires you to use a computer at some point. Also, they're your access to information and entertainment. People who are actually into the hobby really take the time to figure out what they need. If you want a battered piece of shit, they'll just take you from point A to point B, like a cheap computer that plays CSGO at 144 hertz. Or you want like a big fuck off truck, like how some people get a nuclear reactor of a 5090 PC. You could also customize a car like you could a PC, gold rims and really tall tires on their trucks. And you have the freedom to diagnose your issues yourself. Though I would argue cars are a little bit more complicated than a computer when trying to diagnose the hardware. I could be wrong, I don't really work on cars that much. Someone who's into both building PCs and working on cars stars, let me know. And it's a shame that it's so hard to get into right now, because PC building and PC gaming has been one of the most fulfilling hobbies I've gotten into, and now people can't really consider it because the prices are so insane. But when they do go back down, hopefully they go back down, I really hope more people get into this because it's super fun and rewarding. I don't think I'll ever invest in a current console ever again. Xbox puts their games on PC day one, and with PlayStation you only have to wait like a year for their exclusives to get on PC. The recent one is Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Tsushima is on PC. Yotei's gonna be on PC. I can wait like a year if I really want to play that game. I haven't even played the first one. I heard that one's better anyway. Astrobot's like the only game that will only ever be on PS5, and I know it's a good game, but I could live without playing Astrobot. Also, Nintendo stuff is just absurdly expensive. Like all this for Mario Kart, $500 fucking dollars. And especially since I'm Canadian, since our dollar is weaker, stuff is just super expensive. If you like classic games, yeah, you can emulate on PC, but it's pretty cheap to buy a Wii because these things are fucking everywhere, and hack it yourself and load ROMs onto it and play it natively. So if you don't like emulation, you could just do that. Also, with something like the Wii, you could also play GameCube games natively, and you can emulate older consoles as well. The same benefits apply to stuff like the 3DS and the PS3, but the problem with the PS3 is that emulating PS2 games on the PS3 Slim and Super Slim aren't that good, but I could be wrong. So yeah, join the PC master race, it's better over here. Or play classic consoles, those are good too. Yeah, that's it for PC gaming, so here's a bit of a channel update. So depending on how well this video does on this channel, I might continue just putting gaming stuff on this one, because as you can see, all the anime videos just did fucking abysmal. I think this is because YouTube now thinks this is a gaming channel. It's only pushing the gaming videos into the impressions, like you can see here, 45,000 impressions, versus this anime video that only got a few hundred impressions in the first couple days. So I'm beginning to see a pattern here that the gaming videos are the only ones that are being pushed because it thinks my channel is a gaming channel, even though I uploaded one gaming video and it did well. That's the theory anyway. I gotta upload this video before I actually determine anything. And I know I really don't care about views because this is just a hobby for me, but like, I'd like at least something. I can tell people like the anime videos because with a few views, I still get a lot of likes. Like 49 views, 10 likes, 85 views, 14 likes. That's like 1 in every 5 people liking the video. So people like the videos, it's just that YouTube doesn't push them for some reason. And I probably will make a new channel and put anime stuff on it. I'm not sure if I'll re-upload some of the videos that didn't do that well. Maybe I'll re-edit them or something, I don't know. So I'm gonna have this channel for gaming only, which I'll only use occasionally because I don't really want to make that many gaming videos. I'm mostly interested in talking about anime, so I'm just gonna talk about anime most of the time. I will make a gaming video once in a while. I do plan on making more rant style videos and actual scripted videos at some point for gaming, but the main focus for me is anime. This video admittedly is just to test the waters. So if I do end up making another channel, I will make a YouTube post about it. I actually have a pretty big script done for a video, so I still need to record and edit that. I'll make some announcements, but yeah, that's it for now. Bye.